and welcome to my channel where I talk about books, where my house is more books than brick. Today I'm going to run through what I read in July. I actually read 20 books in July, although some of those were novellas, so they were under 200 pages, and I actually DNF'd one, so actually technically only 19. It was a mixture of both physical and ebooks. I actually did also listen to a couple of audiobooks, but I don't ever count them. I know that's silly, but I just don't. I never think to put them into my Goodreads. But I'm going to run through with you. So first of all, I think we're going to go through the ebooks that I've been reading this month. Firstly, I read The Sound Started After Midnight by S.B. Parker. This was a novella, a short story collection. I think there's 7 stories in there. It's horror, thrillers, there's a ghost story. The primary story, The Sound Starts After Midnight, is actually really good, and it's also almost a little short story in its own right. I mean, it takes up half of the book, and that's really, really good. I never heard of this author before. This was sent to me by a friend, and it was really good, really fun, really spooky. Yeah, it was all right. I gave it 4 stars. Now, I don't usually, when I review books, give star ratings. I just say whether I liked it or not, and I rarely post a negative review. If I don't like something, I just won't talk about it, because it's also subjective what we read, isn't it, darlings? It's, one person's, food is another man's poison, right? Something like that, whatever the phrase is. But anyway, so yeah, I enjoyed it. It was good fun. It was easy to pick in and out of. The second one I read, St Neath by David Watkins. Now, David is a local author to me. I live in Devon. He lives in Exeter, and he's an indie horror author, and I purchased a few books from him. This was actually an ebook, and it's about spiders. If you don't like spiders, I would suggest you don't read it. So it's about this group of teenagers who decide to, bunk off school for the day and run down into the forest and have fun. And they find this huge web. And then the further they go in, the web gets bigger and bigger. And it turns out that there's been a bit of an invasion, because something flew through the sky in the night like a meteor the night before and brought something 8-legged to the planet. It'll make you itch, this book. It was really good. Again, this was a novella, so I think it was under 200 pages. It was a really, really good, fast-paced read. And first one I'd read by David, I really enjoyed his writing. And so I gave that 4.5 stars. Next, I do love an autobiography. And I read them occasionally. At the moment, I'm reading Terry Pratchett's biography by his assistant, which I'm really loving. I love Terry Pratchett. I have all his books up there. And I'm really loving that. But it's a massive biography. So I'm kind of picking into that on one of my Kindles at night when I go to bed. But I read this one, Beyond the Wand by Tom Felton. Who obviously is most famous for playing Draco Malfoy in the Harry Potter films. This was a great biography. He comes across as such a lovely, down-to-earth bloke. It's also very funny. It goes through all of his career from when he was, it goes through all his life, from when he was born with his brothers, and his family sound wonderful. And obviously kept him very grounded. And so it starts when I think the first thing he did was The Borrowers, the TV show. And then obviously the Harry Potter films. And he talks about all the cast, and it's really good anecdotes from the set. And then after Harry Potter and, what happened then. And he struggled quite a lot. And he's very honest about it. And it was a really, really great autobiography. It was a really good read. He's actually a fantastic writer, so I was very impressed with that. The next thing I read was I picked this up because somebody said it was like a modern Bridget Jones. Now, I loved Bridget Jones. I'm sure most people my age did. There's a lot of issues with it now, isn't there? But at the time, it was just so new and so different. This is called Confessions of a 40-something by Alexandra Potter. It really isn't like Bridget Jones. Bridget was always feisty. I mean, she made a lot of mistakes, but the woman in this, she's just a doormat. You know, she's completely walked over by all the men in her life and by all of her friends who have children. I mean, she's basically just, you know, running around after them. I mean, it was okay. It was an easy read. It was quite a fun read. I gave it 3.5 stars because I thought, you know, if you haven't read Bridget Jones, you'll probably enjoy this. But I just wanted a bit more from it, really. And I just thought that in this day and age, I expected something in a diary form like that about a woman's life to be a little bit more empowering than somebody who, again, is just completely dependent on the people around her and doesn't seem to have any fight for herself, which was a bit sad. The next one I read was They Lurk by Ronald Malfi. This was an arc from NetGalley, and this is 5 novellas. 4 of them I'd already read because it's been re-released, and there's a new one on there, which actually is a fantastic story. The great thing about, I love Ronald Malfi's writing, and anybody here who reads horror will know it. I mean, he's so descriptive, and his writing is just beautiful to read. It completely takes you into another place. And these short stories, and he's great at short stories. His previous collection, which was called Ghostwritten, I really loved it. And I preferred that one to this one, to be honest. This one has got a couple of his earlier stories, and you can actually see the progression, you know, in his writing. The final story, which is about a mother and daughter who have a crash in the snow and then have to survive something far worse than a car crash, is absolutely brilliant. And the modern, the most up-to-date version of a story from him, and it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I really enjoyed that. I gave this 4 stars, and yeah, it was really good if you love horror. And the next one I read, ebook, Unholy Gods by William Long. This was a great read. It's basically about this bloke, and 30 years ago, he ran away from the small Hebridean island they lived on in the Scottish Highlands called St. Buddocks. And you don't really know why at the beginning, but he's now a marine biologist, and he gets called back to the island by his sister, because a strange sea creature has washed up on the shore along with a lot of deceased fish. He goes back, he doesn't want to, but there's this lovely connection with his sister that he hasn't seen for 30 years. The sea creature is quite horrific. If you don't like deep water, you're probably not going to like this. I'm personally thalassophobic. I'm terrified of deep water, but I quite like being scared, so there's that. But anyway, it turns into, you know, what actually is happening to this small island, because strange things start happening, almost like biblical plagues, and then you find out there's really, you know, in connection with the superstitions of the villagers, and their flight from the island is all underwater, so bear that in mind. But it was an absolutely fantastic read. Again, this is a new indie horror author to me. I'd never read him. I absolutely loved it and gave it 5 stars. The next, The Vessel by Adam Neville. I love Adam Neville. Quite a few of his horror novels have been adapted for television, including No One Gets Out of Here Alive, which is fantastic. I really, really loved the Burial. No, it's not called Burial Rites. What's it called? The Ritual was one of my favourite one of his. But yeah, he is a brilliant writer. This is a screenplay that he wrote, was converted into a novel, and it's called The Vessel. And it's about this woman who has to take a job looking after this very frail but quite unpredictable elderly housebound woman as a carer. and something's just not right about the house. You know, this is a house horror. It's a folk horror. It deals with the superstitions of the area and the fact that where the house is situated is within the boundaries of a sacred area. So there is magic and supernatural. Yeah, it's really, really good. It has a really satisfying ending. But yeah, very much worth a read. As again, this is quite a short one, a couple of 250 pages, something like that. So that was really, really good. I gave that one 4.5 stars. The next one is Guardians of Atlantis by Rick Chester, another new author to me. This is a horror thriller, and I love this. It's about this guy, and he works as a tour guide around the Giza pyramids in Egypt, and he's just lost his job. And while he's sat in a pub, he overhears somebody who wants to go to a restricted area underneath the Sphinx. And he ends up going, and this woman ends up tagging along, and anyway, it turns into like a proper adventure. It's like Indiana Jones. Yeah, it is. It's like Indiana Jones, but crossed with like 1,000 Leagues Under the Sea, crossed with I don't know, but it's such a good adventure. They obviously find secret passages, secret places, and then he jumps from Egypt. I mean, it's just non-stop. Actually, it's a proper old-fashioned adventure story, right? They end up in Antarctica, where, you know, they start looking for Atlantis. So if you love alternate history, mysteries and adventures, you will love this. The Chamber of Records underneath the Sphinx, the secret passages in the pyramids, and Atlantis. I mean, it was just such good fun. I gave that 5 star because I could not put it down. And I based my stars on not only whether I enjoyed the story, basically, not particularly whether anybody else is going to enjoy it, but whether I did, right? It's all about vibes to me. The next one I read on ebook was Psychic Voices, Book 1 by J.P. Alters. This was sent through to me by the author very kindly as an ebook, just because it's been re-released on the 1st of August. This was also great. This is a supernatural, paranormal thriller. And it's about this girl. It starts off where she's running and all these voices are talking to her. And she wants to, you know, end her life. And she gets sectioned into this state-of-the-art psychiatric facility called the Rainbow Unit. And it's not as it seems. And what's really great about this book, actually, and I've done a long review on this on TikTok and on Instagram, is that all her life, or since she was a child, she's been told she's schizophrenic and she is resistant to treatment. But it turns out she's not. She's psychic. But everybody else within the unit has got schizophrenia. And the way that is handled in this book, and the mental health, how it's portrayed, is done with such compassion, such heart, that it's not exploitative at all. It's part of the story, but it's not the whole story. You actually see these people as actual people. It's just so well done. It's the first book in a series of paranormal thrillers, and I really, really loved it, and I gave that 5 stars. The next two up here are by Matt Doyle. This is also an author who contacted me and asked if he could send some books for me to read, ebooks. And I've read 2 novelettes. I love that word, novelette. A novelette is something that's under 100 pages. And what's really good with both novelettes and novellas is that some authors are really good at the short form and they manage to pack a lot in. And some authors don't, which is why they go for longer form normal novels. This guy, Matt Doyle, he does both. He does long form novels and novellas and novelettes. These two are novelettes, and I read them both in a few hours. The first one is Surreality, and this is about a paranormal TV investigation that goes wrong, basically. They start to look into a local legend, and everything goes to pot. It's really good, packs hell of a punch, really very creepy. And yeah, really enjoyed it, and it all tied up very neatly with a bow at the end. The other one is also a short novelette, Coulrotopia. Coulrophobia, obviously, is a fear of clowns. So this is a book about a circus that is the only one in the world that has animatronic AI clowns. And one day there's a surge in the power, and a murderous AI takes possession of the clowns, and slasher style fun ensues. It's great fun. Again, very fast paced, everything tied up within, like, I don't know, 60 or 70 pages, but incredible story. So fast, so quick, so gory, and a great idea. I mean, just such a good premise. I love both of these. I gave 5 stars to both of them. Okay, now these are the ones that are in physical form. Give me a second, I'll just grab them. So the first one is going to be my only DNF this year. So I have a Lumicrate. I'm sure quite a lot of you have a Lumicrate. I'm thinking of stopping it because I've realised that I really don't like modern fantasy. I just don't like it. I haven't found any I've liked yet, really. The books are beautiful, but they end up just being trophies, you know, because I've tried reading them and I've DNF'd all of them so far. But this is the one I've DNF'd this month. The Sun and the Void. It's a beautiful edition, as you can see. And it's a great idea. It's set in South America. There's a girl who's had to run from where she is to get to her grandmother, who's a powerful enchantress. And I just didn't like it. The problem is that you understand, and this is one of a trilogy, and you understand with any kind of fantasy that there has to be world building, but usually you have a story around the world building. But this starts off, the first 2 chapters, really fast paced when she's travelling through a dangerous area. She gets attacked. It's brilliant. It's done so well. I thought, oh, this is going good. And she's part mythical creature, so she's got horns and tail. And then she meets her grandmother, and it looks like she's going to be okay after she's been injured. And then suddenly there's like 100 pages of just world building, nothing else, no story, just world building. And frankly, I was bored, which is such a shame, because I was buddy reading this with the lovely Jen from Peace and Cookies on here, who's my friend, and I was so disappointed. This is the first buddy read we've done that I just didn't enjoy at all, and I just thought, oh, I'm just going to put it down. And so I did. I think she's still reading it. I hope she enjoys it. It just wasn't for me. So that was that one. Okay, I think I need to speed up a little bit. I think I'm wittering. So the next 2 are the book clubs I belong to. Firstly, Tales Point Horror, read Prom Date by Diane Ho. This was really fun. I was obviously an adult in the 90s, so I don't really remember these books because I was having far too much fun out with my friends and travelling. But these are really good fun. They're really cosy, often cheesy, but really great little horror reads. I'd have probably loved these if I was a teenager in the 90s. And actually, as an adult now, I'm really enjoying them. This one is about Margaret and her friends who are not going to prom because nobody's asked them, but somebody does ask her in the end. And then people start getting hurt, and because somebody really wants to go to prom. So yeah, we actually got a discussion about this tonight on Instagram Live with Shelley, who runs Tales Boy Horror, and Rachel Harrison, who wrote Such Sharp Teeth. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, this was really good, really fun, easy to read, perfect. The next book club I'm in is the YA Book Club, run by Amy McCall. And this month we read In Nightfall by Suzanne Young. Was it Suzanne Young? Yes, Suzanne Young. Oh, look at the cover. This is gorgeous, isn't it? Oh, I love it. This is like Lost Boys meets Mean Girls. It's about a brother and sister who spend the summer with their grandmother they've never met and their dad, because their parents' marriage is broken up. And first day they meet a group of teenagers, and they're not all they seem to be. This was brilliant, fantastic. It very much had Lost Boys, but with girls vibes, and actually felt nostalgic, and it was just such a fabulous read. I really, really enjoyed it. So yeah, it's worth picking up if you love the Lost Boys. And actually, when I was reading this, I had a terrible craving for the film, so I had to get the DVD out. But anyway, yeah, it's really, really good. It's a really good read. The YA Book Club for August is one I've already read. I actually read it this month. You're Not Supposed to Die. You're not supposed to... Yeah, You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight. Kalin Bayram. I don't have the special spread edition, sadly, but this was great. This is a proper slasher kind of romp. I felt like it was a book in two parts. The beginning, it takes place in this isolated campsite where a group of teenagers put on basically a realistic live experience of a slasher film, right? Because the slasher film was filmed at this camp. And so there's a group of teenagers, and they start disappearing. But it starts off really well. The beginning's really good. But the second half of it turns a bit weird. And although I enjoyed it, the ending for me was weird. And I didn't particularly like the ending. So I gave this 3.75 stars. But great cover and a great idea. Very much slasher vibes, if that's what you like. Then next, The Dreams They Weave by Matt Shaw. I love Matt Shaw. He's more of an extreme horror writer, if you've never heard of him. And this is a story about a substance that you have to take that is alive, that takes you to a different place. It's basically about addiction and drugs. And... at one point, he's not sure, the protagonist in this, is not sure if what he sees is the real world or what he's living is the real world, and who's really in charge. Are the humans in charge or the spiders? Again, spidery theme this month, but absolutely brilliant, really creepy, very gory, be warned. And the next one I read was Succubus by S.C. Mendes and Nikki Noir, and this was sent to me from Bloodbound Books. I won a competition, and this is fantastic. Oh my god, this is about a group of women musicians who strike a deal with a succubus to make their music the best in the world, and the only thing that the succubus needs is the sexual energy of some willing participants in the audience. So people go to these concerts and they get chosen to be taken backstage, but it doesn't always work out okay. And he starts with his brother and sister. They go to the gig, he gets taken backstage, and then he disappears. And this is her journey to find out what's going on and whether all of this is real or, you know, just a publicity stunt. Have a guess which one it is. But yeah, another great cover. Really fast-paced, excellent, non-stop action, really creepy, very explicit, just so you're aware. Loved it. 5 stars. The first book I read in the month was this one. Creepy. Infested by C.M. Forrest. Oh my lord, I loved this. This is about a couple who are living in a modern high tower, what they called? Yeah, like an apartment block. That's the word, Shaz. Apartment block. And one night she wakes up on the floor in a puddle of vomit. She's no idea what's going on, but something weird is going on in the building. They're isolated in the middle of nowhere. It's state of the art, run by a corporation. And then she comes across some of the other residents and they are not behaving like themselves. This is a really creepy creature feature that will make your skin itch. But it is so good. Oh my, it's so good. Again, the first book I've read by C.M. Forrest, I absolutely loved this. And also, what I really liked, I'll show you, is every page is a different colour. So every chapter heading is different colour. It is absolutely brilliant again. Brilliant. If you don't like bugs, you're not going to like this one, but I really loved it. Says a lot about me, doesn't it? Nearly there. Next one that I read was also a present from my friend Amelia, The Wicker King. This is a fantastic story about two friends who are in a kind of very toxic relationship, and one of them starts seeing things that only he can see, and his friend joins him in his delusions. And this is about that. It's done in very short, choppy chapters. It's basically realistic speculative fiction. It's written in very short chapters, some of them only tiny. There's diagrams, media all the way through. And what is fantastic about this book is that, I'll show if I can show you, as that's the beginning, obviously, as the story progresses and his mind starts to go and both of them start to lose their mental health, the pages get darker and darker until they're finally black. Absolutely brilliant. I'd never heard of it until my friend sent me this. Absolutely like nothing I've ever read. Don't read a lot of speculative fiction. This is incredible. And yeah, I couldn't put it down. It's such a wonderfully visual way of showing the decline in someone's mental health by making the pages darker. And it also talks about toxic relationships, toxic friendships, and, you know, whether what we see is actually real. It's absolutely brilliant. Brilliant. I gave this 5 stars. The next one I read was The Taking of Jake Livingston by Ryan Douglas. I actually read last year the Haunting of Tyrese Walker by J.P. Rose, and this reminded me of that. It's about a boy who can see and talk to the dead, and what happens about that. But yeah, it's a really excellent read, and very creepy. Also great cover, isn't it? But yeah, he basically gets haunted by another teenager who is a killer, and it's about both of their lives and how both of them in a lot of ways are very similar. Their lives are very similar, but they're different paths they took. It's absolutely incredible. Brilliant. 5 stars. Next one, Penultimate, How to Die Famous by Benjamin Dean. This was sent to me by Simon & Schuster to review. They sent me a PR package, which was really kind of them, with some lovely popcorn. Red velvet popcorn was delish. And this is about the entertainment industry and how corrupt it is, and how there's so little regard for the people, especially young people, when they're stars in a show, how their feelings are disregarded and how they're just used up until they're not any use anymore. And this is about an English guy who he's an upcoming superstar, and he gets a role in a remake of a very famous TV show. But the main reason he's going is because the same TV show is where his brother supposedly took his own life years before, and he wants to know what actually went on. This is great. Each chapter is told from the point of view of the 4 main cast members, mainly, but other people as well. And the story is told through that device. And it flits from the past to the future. It's absolutely fabulous. I really enjoyed it. First read by this author too, and it was excellent. And he used to be, Benjamin, he used to be a celebrity interview reporter, so he obviously knows what he's talking about. The corruption in the industry is really well done here. Excellent read, 5 stars. And then I think that's it, isn't it? I think that must be 20. I don't know. So yeah, I had some good reads all year, all month. I don't tend to have many bad reads because I'm very careful what I choose. I also know what I like, so I tend to only go for books I know I'm going to like. But yeah, hope you found that interesting. I'm sorry if I whittled on a little bit much. Yeah, on to August. Have a great day, my friends.